Please welcome director Mike Cahill.
How's it going? Thank you for coming. I'm going to invite out the film team. Brit, Marling, the star and co-writer. Hunter Gray, producer. Nicholas Shoemaker, producer. And Cahill, Thank you guys for getting up early and coming to see this. It means a lot to us. So we're here to do a Q&A. If anyone has any questions, fire away.
I'll start with the obvious. How did you do conjure such a beautiful concept for this film?
Thank you. The concept came from the idea, from a very simple idea, which is, what would it be like to meet yourself? Like most of our relationships are interpersonal, our friends, our parents, our girlfriends and boyfriends, except for the one that we have with ourselves. That one's like this running monologue in our head. And I was curious if that was externalized, if that was not just here, but someone you can see and look at. Well, would you judge them? Would you envy them? Would you hate them? Would you love them? And in this movie, would you be able to forgive them? And so then extrapolate that so that 6.5 billion of us could also feel that feeling. And then you have another Earth. That's kind of how it came to be. It's science is metaphors. Kind of idea. Any more questions? Hi, yes, how are you?
Good, cool, good, great movie. Sort of the synchronous planet thing would be inconsistent with free will. And so, was that ever a consideration?
Absolutely. It's so, a lot, I mean, there's this director named Krzysztof Kieślowski who's made this movie called Double Life of Veronique, which was really, really inspiring. And it poses these questions of free will versus choice, and we wanted to explore something similar to that. And the idea is that these two souls, or these 6.5 billion and 6.5 billion souls, have been on the same trajectory, and the acknowledgement of oneself creates parallel existences. I don't know. It's open for interpretation, I guess. But that was a great question. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going? Again, amazing, amazing film. The end where in Earth 1, she chooses to give away her ticket to John, and they have that discussion where they theorize about whether John's family would or would not exist in Earth 2. Simultaneously, in Earth 2, when she chose to keep the ticket, do you see her as theorizing when she chose to go meet herself? I mean, obviously it's open to interpretation, but the thoughts that were in her head, they were talking about that. Can you give some insight as to some of the feelings you were thinking when you created that?
I'm going to have Brit talk about that, maybe.
I guess there are so many different interpretations. I think one that we thought of was that on Earth 2, the accident didn't happen. So that Rhoda followed the trajectory of MIT and astrophysics, and perhaps gained the right to travel through different means, not through the essay contest, but through her own sort of trajectory through science. And so actually when we figured that out and came up with the ending, we ran around Mike's apartment screaming for an hour, being like, oh my gosh, we figured it out. So that's our version of it, but there can be many interpretations.
Hi, how are you?
Two questions. One, the role that you wrote for Rhoda, the Brit, was magnificent, and you played it really magnificently. Ask Hunter a question. Hunter, what made you interested in this movie? You know, what captured you about the subject matter?
Thanks, Nancy. Good morning to all of you. You know, Nick here, the producer, is a friend of mine, and he's friends with them for a very long time, and he got us together, and Mike talked about the concept of the film, and I thought it was incredible, and they went off then and really figured it out, and I don't know, I was very, very excited to work with them.
Yeah, when I met Hunter, I had this this like pitch meeting, I guess, if you will, and I had one piece of paper that just had a picture of two Earths on it, and it said, "What if there were two?" And then I had another piece of paper that had like 4 sentences, and we were sitting down, and I like carefully slid the documents across the table, just, like, check this out. And thought that was like a great presentation. But that opened up a dialogue, and then I'm so grateful to him. I mean, it's impossible without these guys. Hey.
Just one of the things that struck me was that there isn't like a really clear-cut protagonist-antagonist relationship.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
There isn't like a really clear-cut protagonist-antagonist relationship. So, like, because while you're watching the movie, you end up sympathizing with both John and Rhoda.
Right.
How you dealt with the delicacy of that balance.
It's interesting. The question was there didn't seem to be a clear-cut protagonist-antagonist. I guess part of the antagonism is this other self, the self, the guilt, really. And the film goes through various stages, which is, she causes this horrific accident, and all of a sudden this big burden of guilt falls on top of her. And first society tries to punish her. She goes to prison, and that doesn't relieve her from that guilt, this antagonism of guilt, and it's still there. And then, so society can't do it. So maybe this person, she can seek some sort of redemption and apologize to this man and try and expunge the guilt that way. And, that sort of falters, and then she realizes maybe she can just make this man's life better, because maybe doing that is selfish. And so I think the antagonist really is that guilt, and not this man, really. And that's like a love story, ultimately, a tragic love story. And then so hopefully she overcomes it by the end, whatever you interpret, I suppose. Hi there.
Hi, one of the loose ends I had was, what were you writing on the other janitor's hand?
That's a good question. Does anyone know?
Forgive.
Awesome, yeah. I almost... 2 points. 2 points. It's funny because when I first was cutting it, I cut it before the I, so it could have been F-O-R-G. It could have been forget or forgive, but then I thought it was better to have it so if you could. Awesome.
Good.
Glad you got it.
Good.
Hey, up there, how are you?
Good. I have a question about the music, which I thought was incredibly subtle, but at the same time so obviously connecting with so many of the scenes. So what was the inspiration behind that? What really drove all that? It was remarkable.
It's amazing. I'm so happy with how the music came out. One of the producers is not here, Tyler Brody. He introduced me to these guys of this band called Fall on Your Sword, and they're just so badass and so talented. And we were fortunate enough. We had 4 months or so to work on the music together, and we wanted to create certain sounds for Rhoda's character, certain sounds for John. We wanted all the music to be very organic sounding, so it was all live instruments recorded, nothing digital or sampled. I mean, there is some digital sample stuff, but like for like the strings, for the voices, for the vocals, even for a lot of the drums, they're like, they have that texture of real, and yeah, I love the score. I think it's beautiful, very, very good.
The way you guys filmed her work and brought out her personality melded so well with the story is excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Hi.
What's the Yale connection?
The Yale connection?
Yeah.
Oh, in the movie, is there?
Yeah, why is it
MIT.
in Yale and
Oh, that's where I grew up. I grew up in New Haven, so we shot at my mom's house. Rhoda's house is my mom's house. Yeah, it was cool. So, yeah, and like lots of childhood friends were helping us get everything together. Friends were like going to, a friend of mine who I grew up with, one of my best friends from childhood, he would like take his pickup truck to the back of hockey rinks and load it up with snow for scenes that we shot in the summer that we needed snow. So it was cool, like a lot of, like, it was cool shooting it.
Yeah. I'm wondering where the inspiration came for the male janitor. I can't think of his name right now, but there was some figure in one of your lives that brought that name forward.
figure. I mean, I think the idea came that there would be somebody else within the story who was also suffering from guilt of some kind, and that he could recognize in Rhoda this grief and this moment when she comes into him at the end and he can't see and he can't hear, and she can only communicate through writing on his palm, that they both somehow sort of are there for each other in a way that no one else in the film can. Because I think Rhoda's family and a lot of people try to embrace her and take care of her, but I think when something like that happens in your life, you're so thrust on a different trajectory that it's hard for anyone who hasn't experienced that sense of insane grief or guilt can really understand where you are. So we sort of came up with him as a reflection of that.
Yeah.
And also we just love Kumar.
And it's Kumar. We love Kumar. He usually does a lot of comedy stuff, like, so it's cool.
Well, I just want to say those touches and the way that resonates with the story of the cosmonaut are just brilliant and beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The cosmonaut scene's funny because a friend of mine, Joshi, he a long time ago, he told me the story about his father told him the story. He's like, you know, my dad told me, you're having a rough time with something, here's this cosmonaut story, and he told me. I was like, and like maybe a few months later, I put it into that scene, and I showed my friend Joshi, and I thought it was like really clever. He's like, dude, didn't I tell you that story? And I'm like, oh yeah. Credit to you for writing it. I thought I came up with it myself.
Questions?
Oh yes, hi, how are you?
I thought the cinematography was beautiful in the film. And
Thank you.
Can you talk about the equipment you used and how you made it so beautiful?
Thank you. Sure. We that's a very nice thing to say. We shot it with the EX3, Sony EX3, which is an HD camera. It's a nice, beautiful camera, and I guess I really wanted to create a tone of verite meets the sci-fi, so that you get these handheld shots that lift up and see the earth. It almost makes it feel more real. Like hopefully maybe when you guys leave the theater, you'll like be looking up in the sky. Like, where is that thing? So merging that sort of lo-fi feeling with the effect, more to create a tone, to create a backdrop and an aesthetic within which this drama can live and breathe, I guess. Okay, so time for one more question. Who's it going to be? I can't pick. I don't know. Who's got the best question?
So was there any meaning to when she, at the final scene when she was coming home, and it was real cloudy out and she couldn't see Earth 2? Was there any meaning towards that?
I'll tell you a funny story about that. So when we started to do this, we had a treatment, and Brit and myself and our friend Liang and Brit's sister Morgan went to my mom's house because I was like, let's just make this movie. Let's just do it. We had the camera. That's all we had actually. And on the first day, Brit, I guess, went for a run. She came back to tell all of us. She was like, there's this beautiful fog over New Haven. You should see it. And I was like, awesome, let's shoot the last scene in the movie. And I think she was like, no, not yet. And I said, let's practice shoot the last scene in the movie. And I promised her that we'd shoot it again. So that day carried such a mystery and a magical quality to the feeling. And we eventually did shoot the scene, as promised, shot for shot again in the fall with these like bursting orange leaves. And it's weird, like in the editing room you can see the snowy one, and then you can see this one in the fall, and she meets herself and sees herself, and like it was clear that the one that we shot on the first day was the one that really captured some magic. Okay, is that it? That's all we got? Thank you guys so much.